want to apologize to my YouTube listeners because I kind of I kind of clicked on the wrong button when I was putting all this together, and it's just one of those days. You do know that Friday is a full moon. We are etching towards that. You can really see you can see some signs of that, just with the way things have gone. And um, this game right here was just it was something. I tell you, I wasn't expecting the outcome that we saw, but hey, that's where we are right now.
Hey, usually when Bucks are playing backup quarterbacks, they make them look like,
Hall
Joe
of Famers.
Montana. But Sam Darnold went from Joe Montana to Sam Darnold all in one game.
Yeah, and it was just amazing. So, yeah, I do have some questions. Nestor, what's going on, man? I do have some questions for you. I do want to talk because coaching matters to me. I think this season, if anything, has shown you how the value of a head coach, a competent head coach, and what they can get done. When you look at Steve Wilkes and what he had to work with coming in to his tenure as the head coach for the Carolina Panthers, what has been your take on him so far?
Hey, he's done everything right. I mean, yes, they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, so did your NFC South champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Other than that game, excuse me, the Bengals game as well. So obviously, those two games didn't go the way that they wanted, but in every single other game, he's either put the Panthers in the best chance to win. And I'm
Mhm.
going to come into this by specifically highlighting the Bucks. And the whole thing going into the Bucks game was Steve Wilkes is going to pound the rock, pound the rock, pound the rock. They're up. The Bucks are up 14. Oh, we're going to pound the rock. The Panthers are up 14. Oh, we're going to pound the rock. No, it was essentially he came out with the game plan that was going to beat the Bucks. The
Yep.
Panthers beat the Panthers after they were up by 10 points. Essentially what happened. I mean, there was the snap to Darnold, which isn't his fault.
Yeah.
It's a center at a away game, snapping it too early. And then the only real, Anthony Nelson with the strip sack. And then Darnold made the correct read on the SMB interception. He just underthrew it.
Yep.
So like that's what the difference in the game was those three turnovers. It wasn't the coaches put the Panthers in the best chance to win that game.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the last minute, 2 minutes of the game and the clock management.
Mm.
Uh, it was just like that's what you expect from your coach.
Do we think Todd Bowles would do that?
No, hell no.
Exactly. So
Oh no.
that's what gave him a chance. I mean, if what was I going to say? If like they were able to get that pass to the 50,
Yeah.
without because they also had a 5-yard penalty. People will forget there. They had a false start penalty or delay a
Yep.
game, one of the two. At the end of that game, if that ball's at the 50, they're a Hail Mary's chance from playing for the division.
Yep, absolutely. And those are the types of things that I'm talking about. When you're if you're inside your 10, that's four. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong here, but that to me is four down territory.
Oh
It,
yeah.
it should be. I mean, you're a professional football team. You've got, regardless of his play in the past up till this point, Tom Brady was on fire. He was hot going into the fourth quarter, or just going into this game, he was pretty hot. I don't understand why you don't just put it on him to go ahead and do it. He can handle the pressure.
Because they're
So,
afraid of him throwing an interception, Gene. But no, I think a lot of it came down to Brady was able to really manipulate the safeties
mhm,
on those Mike Evans receptions. The second one specifically, he did a hard pump, and his eyes were completely on the left side of the field because typically the Bucks run a trips with Mike, being the solo guy. That's why Mike gets a lot of double teams.
yeah,
They're playing a lot of quarters coverage, and he made that safety above Mike just bite towards the middle.
hmm, that's all he
He
needed.
knew he knew that entire play he was going to Mike, but
Yeah,
he knew he could manipulate that safety, and that's the power of Tom Brady.
yeah, absolutely. And again, these are things that the Bucks, whatever they've done in the regular season, it's a hard reset, and you're going into the playoffs, and basically it's you win, you move on, you lose, you don't. And I would love to see this team, in that position. I'm liking that Tristan Wirfs is getting healthier. Ryan Jensen, it was really cool to see some of the video of him working out. I don't expect to see him on Sunday, but he's getting closer and closer to being ready to play.
Can I bring up something real quick that no one's really talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously, this is on the back. This is why I'm not going to tweet it out because I want to be insensitive, like Sir Bayless. But there's a reality right now of there might not be any football being played until we get positive news about Damar Hamlin, excuse me, his status.
That's
Obviously,
only
he's made
fair.
some improvements. If there was a Thursday night game, if there was a game tomorrow night, I am willing to bet that that game would not be played. At least would be pushed off to Sunday, or in a typical circumstance. Obviously, it's the last week of the season.
Mhm.
Everyone wants to talk about the Bills, for instance. They don't even have a game time scheduled for Sunday, and then there's obviously the makeup of whatever's going to happen between Bills Bengals. Um, the Bucs might have a week or two extra and not even be the 1 seed.
Yeah.
So that gives an opportunity like a Ryan Jensen
Mm.
to get that extra week. It get like I was keen, not play your starters, especially Brady Wirfs, um, the Smith on offense, for instance. Dean, CD3, Vita. I didn't want to see those guys.
Yeah.
But now, if you're going to have an extra week possibly thrown in there, I'm keen play. I mean, obviously, I think Dean and Davis, for instance, should not play. Smith probably should not play.
Yeah.
But if you got Wirfs and he's okay playing on his ankle,
Yeah.
why the hell not?
Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of going back to that game, I did want to take a moment to shout out the special uh just the medical staff going out there and saving the young man's life. Um I really believe in my heart of hearts, had they not acted as quickly as they did, he wouldn't be here with us, um just because of the responsiveness that we saw from them. And to me, that they're the MVPs. They don't really get talked about enough, but that medical staff, the way they worked, they came in and did CPR, performed CPR on him. That to me was probably the most spectacular play in that whole game, to be honest.
Also, another thing that I think is just weird from this whole situation was I think there should be easier access in and out for an ambulance.
Yes,
I mean, if you just look at, thank goodness from the standpoint that they were on the field for 30, 45 minutes, however long that whole snafu, because again, we were all kind of in that moment. I couldn't tell you if it was 5 minutes or 50 minutes. I know it just seemed like forever.
it did.
Um,
It did
but to
really. Did.
but if they just called the game, for instance, I bet you that ambulance would have had to fight through all the fans exiting that stadium as well.
Yeah, that's definitely.
So thank goodness for the first responders to be able to come in and perform their job on a very. I mean, I'm sure most of them aren't used to performing CPR on a football player with a chest protector, every day, because as we can tell, this is a pretty
And
unprecedented event.
yeah, absolutely. I think what gets me is the fact that we're all focused on head injuries. We're focused on concussions.
Our
We're
president even said that. I'm not trying to get political or anything, but like for instance, like there's so many people who want to politicize this on both
yeah,
sides of the
yeah,
spectrum,
yeah,
but like it's all a focus on the head. Well, for a football player, it's not always the head that's
yeah,
important. There's other vital organs.
yeah. I believe there was a kid here in Phoenix in 2011 that was killed by a baseball. I have to get
It's very common, and that's why Gene
yeah.
they the style of bat. Like if you look at what bats were 10. Oh, I'm frozen.
No, you can keep going. But yeah, okay. To me, just getting an understanding of that type of injury. From something I read, they said that it's 30 people out of 264 million cases. It's like a 1 in 264 million chance of that happening. But we saw it. I saw the interview with the parents of the child that was killed, with that freak accident, and just, you know, what that kind of does to you. It's sad, man, and it's scary. And I'm just really shocked with as violent as the NFL is, and they've scaled back the violence over the past I would say 8, 9 years. I'm shocked that this hasn't happened prior to this.
Well, there's different factors that go into it, and I know you were talking about that baseball case before I kind of froze out there.
Mm.
But that's a gene. It's actually way more common of an injury in baseball than you realize.
Really?
In the sense that they even changed high school and amateur bats, because if you looked at what they were made of, they were made out of metal.
Yep.
10 years ago, for instance, college players, for instance, were
Yep.
hitting 30, 40 home runs like it was no one's business. And I'll tell you, I went from hitting almost a dozen home runs in high school to literally like one my senior year, because they changed from this
Yeah.
metal bat style to this what they call BB core. And
Mhm.
what that did was it decreased the
Absorbs.
amount of impact from the baseball from a exit velocity standpoint. So that
Mhm.
pitcher, if there's a comebacker, doesn't get hit in the heart or head as hard as what they used to be. So from a hit standpoint, there's obviously a chest protector, but we also know, or shoulder pads that cover your chest.
Right.
But we also know from helmets don't protect you from concussions.
Right.
But I also there's two ways to really like look at this. I am not taking the Bart Scott way. That is not T. Higgins' fault.
No, not at all.
Um,
Not even a little bit. He was
T. Higgins was able to play a very if we saw a defender tackle someone the way that T. Higgins initiated contact, I mean, we saw it in the national championship game. Everyone wanted targeting on essentially that one bang bang play in the end zone.
right.
But T. Higgins just initiated contact because an offensive player is able to run towards space and get to that space and protect themselves. It's not like
Right.
he did a stiff arm or anything. He just took his shoulder and went into the guy. We see Derrick Henry do this
We
every
see
week
we see
and
Mike
it's
Evans do this.
applauded.
We've seen
Yeah.
Chris Godwin do this.
So I mean, I it's so unfortunate. The best thing we can get from this situation is that it needs to be looked at, it needs to be evaluated, it needs to be studied. Um, but I mean, all we can do at this point is just hope that DeMar Hamlin is
Yeah, that's
able to come back healthy. Like
yeah.
not talking about playing football ever again. I'm talking about living a healthy life.
Mhm.
And I think one thing just to really bring up, Gene, before I hop off my soapbox, is I think people need to really understand what happens to a player post career.
Mhm.
There's no guarantee that DeMar Hamlin is going to get any kind of medical insurance after
Yep.
his retirement. There's no guarantee that he would even get a pension.
Mhm.
Um, and if he does, it's very minimal, and the NFL can choose to not pay for certain, like let's say, if he's disabled or there's anything long term, the NFL can choose to not pay for it.
I walk a fine line when it comes to the NFL. That um, when I hear the protect the shield bullshit that they talk, excuse me, but this is one of those, you know, not PG 15, 18 moments here. But I don't know if you remember Scott Brantley. Scott Brantley was an amazing player for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's one of my favorites. I've met him on multiple occasions. He was a great guy. Um, Old school throwback Bucks player. If you look up Scott Brantley, Eric Hipple, just Google that just go out on YouTube and look for that. You're welcome. But I look at him now, and he's not getting any help from the NFL. There are players,
Alzheimer's, baby.
yeah, there are players that you know can't remember their name. I look at Warren Sapp. Warren Sapp has to put information in his phone so he can remember things at his age. And to me, this is where the NFL needs to step up and do what they're supposed to. They need to take care of the people that they've made billions of dollars off of. It needs to happen. I mean,
Well,
there's
and
no
what sucks about it, Gene, is the players agree to this. Like for instance,
100%.
they agreed to have, the amount of time you're in the NFL to be able to get benefits.
Mhm.
From, before probably just needing 2 or 3 years, now it's 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Like to be able to get a pension. The
Mhm.
NFL now it went from, I think it was like 3 years or something that we have to get, or where you're able to get eligible for post-playing like insurance.
Yeah. What's intriguing is and I haven't, and I probably need to do this in off season. Guys, I promise to do this in off season, but I really need to look at the most recent collective bargaining agreement. The
Well,
way,
Josh is a expert.
you know
He's
what,
ready to cover to
where
cover.
is Josh when I need him? Goodness. Josh.
Just to give people insight, like that's one of the things that got Josh his job at Pewter Report. He literally read the CBA cover to cover. Do you know how many people do that? Not many.
Yeah, this is true.
It's publicly accessed information, but that's not a fun read.
Oh no, absolutely. And actually understanding it is an even bigger job. And folks, I apologize. I know this has been kind of boring. We're kind of talking about some things, but this is real life. And I do want to kind of go back to the NFL. These are players that are human beings. And it really, DeMar Hamlin, he deserves our thoughts and prayers at this time. I'm not a real, not to offend anybody, I'm not a real religious person, but I believe in positive energy, and is just something that I hope that this kid makes a full recovery. Um, G Vegas, Bud Cannibals. Only thing that worries me is how long he went without oxygen. That's my concern. I mean, when you have something like that, an injury of that magnitude, it can have long term effects. And I hope and pray that he does recover from this. I mean, it's again, human being, family, friends, people, loved ones, that really genuinely care for him, and he's out here playing a game that he loves, and this freak accident occurs. So I really hope for the best for him. But on a more positive note, just I wanted to get that out there because normally, if you know the show, you watch the show. Normally, I don't get into current event stuff on the show. I normally kind of stick with Bucks, but this is a monumental event to me because I've never seen anything of this magnitude happen on the field. I've seen injuries. I've seen some injuries that have made me physically sick, but just to see somebody that's fighting for their life, I've never seen anything like that. So I had to talk about it a little bit, but I do want to get back to your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, our
The
Tampa.
last thing I'll say on the subject is, again, this is current event news, sure, but it's also Bucks news because until we see something remotely positive about DeMar Hamlin, I'm telling you right now, Gene, the NFL won't play on Sunday, Saturday as well.
Yeah, they
I'm just
and
telling you
they
that
kind of
point blank.
and they kind of brought this on themselves by the fact that they wanted to actually have the players go back out on the field.
I mean, yeah, the whole 5-minute thing, and you know
Yeah.
what? I have my feelings about Joe Buck, but I'm telling you right now, I know Joe Buck was not just told that by some studio exec for NBC or whatever. No, like that was what was told to players. Joe Burrow was out there warming up,
Mhm.
and then Zach Taylor, went over to the sideline of the to Sean McDermott, and then that's when the captain's basically like, no, we're not playing. But the
Yeah.
NFL was ready to keep going. I mean, I'll talk about something really quickly. I had a teammate at Bucknell get paralyzed.
Wow.
He was able to regain, a lot of his movement. He was able to
Mhm.
walk, I think, after like 6 months. I think he was able to use most of his motor skills from like the neck down, but he had like a really bad like slouch and, kind of like could never like get his back straight ever again, for instance. But the game went on.
Unbelievable.
Everyone stopped. I had teammates crying. He was in my recruiting class. Like he was in my we freshman like class together, and everyone cried on the sideline. But
So
within probably 10, 15 minutes, we were playing.
how did this injury affect you? I mean, did this like make you flash back to that time, or how did this hit you? I mean, having to experience something because that's trauma, whether people want to admit it or not. Somebody like that loses their livelihood, just like that's trauma. How did that hit you? I mean, when you saw this and you realize the gravity of the situation.
I've seen kids, like we mentioned earlier. I was a baseball guy my whole life, so I've seen kids get hit in the chest. I've seen teenagers get hit in the head by a comeback or from a baseball
Mhm.
standpoint.
Yeah.
Generally, again, like it was like a concussion or a player just like exited, but they looked okay coming off the field. I've seen kids have bones protruded from like kids getting
Gross.
slid into, for instance,
Yeah.
like, broken tibia, fibia.
Mhm.
Nothing compared to me to watching the kid at Bucknell become, you know, uh,
Paralyzed.
paralyzed, excuse me. And I mean, again, I wasn't like close to him as like we weren't like
Mhm.
best friends or anything. He
But
was
he's a
on my
team.
team. He played off it. Got injured playing defensive line. He was an offensive lineman with me before my injury. Then he transitioned to the defense. But like watching that, you know, I was just in shock. So
Mhm.
when Damar Hamlin, occurred, my first instinct was that it was a chest injury, because if it was a concussion, I don't think he would have been able to push himself off the ground the way that he did.
Yeah.
But I am not a hard expert by any means.
No.
And it was just like my first instinct, I think, was Bud Cannibalists or whoever, hey, is this guy even breathing?
Yes.
Like that, I mean, and that's to me worse than any kind of concussion,
Yeah.
because
Now
a
you're fighting
concussion
for your life.
sucks, don't get me wrong, but if you don't have oxygen going to your heart, you're dead.
Yeah, basically. I mean, people try to compare the Tua injury, but this is not. And I understand they're both very violent injuries, and you can't compare the two. You're comparing apples and oranges.
Well, and also Tua could have been avoided.
Yeah, yeah,
This
100%.
is bang bang, two players just playing the game of football. Shit happened.
Right. So again, this was this is something that the NFL will look at, I'm sure, and I'm sure they'll be heavy-handed in the beginning, and people won't like what they come up with, and then they'll eventually scale it back, which is the MO for the NFL. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see. And I know that everybody out there is hoping that this kid, Damar Hamlin, that he does, bounce back from this. And I think the true Hollywood fable story would be to see this kid in the AFC championship game or whatever, or I don't know how serious his injury is or how you come back, but be able to see him either on the sidelines or, who knows, potentially playing or something like that. That's the storybook ending you want to see. But again, we'll just kind of have to wait and see what happens. I don't know, but my thoughts are with him and his family, and that's incredible that what kind of going back to first responders, uh they did their job, they did what they needed to do, and I think that a lot of things will be looked at in the off season, and there you will see changes in the 2023 season. So definitely look forward to that. But
On a
uh,
less sad note, Gene, did you see from Bud's comment the whole Shannon Sharp and Skip thing from today?
oh wow. Skip Bayless has been getting passes for years. He's another guy that, the beauty of Twitter. I know people hate Twitter, people love Twitter. I love Twitter because I can go in and mute certain words and don't have to see it on my line. I can mute people or block people and I don't have to see them on my line. Example, Rick Stroud. I had to see that guy. I had to see any of his comments. And because it is what it is. But when you think about what Skip Bayless said, I know a lot of things that he says are for shock value. I know that he doesn't believe 50% of the stuff that's coming out of his mouth. But again, you're talking about him, Shannon Sharp, a former player, a player that saw his brother get temporarily paralyzed, versus a man that's done nothing but cover sports. So you're talking about two totally different um, perspectives on the same scenario. I don't have a lot of respect for Skip Bayless. I go back to Screaming A. Smith when he was in with the Four Letter Network, and they were doing their thing, and I just I don't respect the guy a whole lot. There are times where he says stuff, it's hot read. I can deal with that because that's just who he is. But first and foremost, I would have to say you have to meet the media needs to learn how to put people put things aside and look at people as human beings if there's something significant that occurs, in my opinion. I go back to Giovanni Bernard. I know a lot of people may disagree with me on this. Giovanni Bernard is a human being. He was dealing with injuries. I know the man was frustrated with what he was going through throughout his season. He wanted to be out and contribute to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was unable to because of whatever injury he had. You know, football players do not want to be on the sidelines if they don't have to. The majority don't. And again, when I saw the exchange, I wasn't real thrilled with it. But at the end of the day, I felt like he handled it like a professional, and he got through it. And I love that his teammates kind of rallied around him, and you ice out the negative commentary, and you kind of move forward. These are things that I'm talking about, where just I feel like these players don't get treated as human beings at times, and there are times where they really need to be. So, I'm gonna get off my soapbox because I do want to talk more about this win by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I want to kind of get back to what were your thoughts going into the first half of this game?
Oh
I,
fuck, Gene. Where's the alcohol, man?
bro, I saw your tweets. I saw
Where's
the
the
tweets,
alcohol for the first quarter, man?
bro. I was loaded. I was probably loaded by halftime. It was it was that kind of deal.
I mean, again, I was just scared because it was one of those, okay, like if they put up 21 points, can we win? Can we put up 21 points? Because they're already 2 for 2 on their red zone or their touchdown opportunities.
Mhm.
But thankfully, the whole Mike Evans and Tom Brady narrative can at least be put to bed for another week.
At
The
least.
run defense was strictly amazing. I mean, held one of the best rushing offenses in the NFL to 74 yards and a 3.4 average.
That was
DJ
to be
Moore,
expected.
I think people just need to put more respect on DJ Moore entirely. I tweeted out pregame. I thought he was going to be burning SMB, but really he was burning Antoine Winfield Jr. Let's just say what it
Yeah.
is. I think
Yeah.
Antoine's hurt, but he was getting abused by DJ Moore.
Yeah. I think they made adjustments. And see, when you look at the defense made adjustments. And we can say whatever we people can say whatever they want to about TB Todd Bowles, but when it comes to that defense, I think he holds them to a different standard than he does the offense.
Well, and that's sometimes is my issue with Todd Bowles is because, and that's a trouble with a lot of defensive head coaches, is there's a lot of, hey, I trust my defense to win in the game, and which is there's no again there's no issue with having that mindset in my eyes. The issue is this league is set up for offenses to score points and get yards more quickly than you can rally a defense. You could have probably one of the best defenses of all time, and they're giving up 20 in today's NFL.
Yeah. So, when you look at the contribution from the rookies for this Buccaneers team, are you happy with it, or could there have been more? Because I look at Jake Camarda, and then I look at Rashad White, and I'm very happy with Rashad White, especially in the passing game. Um, I guess I still have PTSD from Ronald Jones because I wanted Ronald Jones to succeed. I wanted Ronald Jones to catch the ball, make plays, and prove everybody wrong, prove all the haters wrong. But again, it just never came to fruition. Um, I love Rashad White. I love his blocking. I love how he picks up blitzes. There are just so many intangibles about Rashad White that I love about this kid, and I want him to stay healthy, and I think he'll be successful with Tampa. I love how he catches out of the backfield, and I think Tom Brady is starting to get a little bit more comfortable with that.
No, and I definitely agree. Are we? Yeah, I was about to say, are we removing that comment?
Up, block party, baby.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to. I didn't
No,
want to take
no,
the
no,
give
no
that
worries.
person more
You're
attention.
good. You
But
should have
that was
blocked
weird.
eight. You know what? It's block wary. Block you wary.
But yeah, I mean, it was just nice to see I mean, Brady had his best game of the year, both
Mm.
statistically and also with the deep ball. I think people would be surprised to know Rashad only had 22 yards rushing. Again, some of that was and only 26 yards receiving, but I think he was also, held back because of a penalty.
Mhm.
Um, our offensive line is just not great in the run game right now, but he was able to turn a lot of -3 losses into 3-4 yard gains. So I love from the rookie standpoint what we've seen. I'd love to see something more out of Logan Hall, but that whole situation kind of is what it is. If you want to say Anthony Nelson was our first or second round pick this year, that's how I'm mentally approaching that.
Yeah.
Because it's
I'll say
just reality.
this. I'm gonna say this because at the beginning of the season, I had zero expectations for Logan Hall. So anything that he's done has been a positive this year. I did not want in, and you guys know this. I mean, you know this from the beginning. I didn't even talk about Logan Hall when the season started because I was just 100% unsure about that pick. And again, I want this kid to succeed. I want Tampa to win. I want the defense to be successful. That's my whole goal right there. But when I looked at the pick, I was like, I don't know. Maybe some they could have did something a little bit more creative with that pick. But you know what? You got to trust you got to trust your GM, Jason Light. Shout out to Jason Light. And you got to trust your coaches. If that's who they wanted and they feel like this guy can contribute, I feel like you're going to see more from him next year. Kind of like what we're seeing from JTS. JTS has been slowly, consistently getting better from last year to this year. And a lot of people are frustrated with not seeing more out of him. I go back to DeForest Buckner, when he was drafted by the 49ers. I know this only because I wanted Buckner as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Uh, when he got in the right system, when he got with the right players around him, the guy was amazing. The guy was a freaking monster.
You can
And
say that about Tariq Woolen from G Vegas, by the way, as well. I mean, it was the whole okay, the Bucs could have drafted Vita Vea or they could have done Derwin James.
right.
No one can look me in the eye and would tell me that Mike Smith would have used Derwin James to the best of
Hell
his
no, he
ability.
wouldn't have.
Not saying
Not
that
even
staff would have done
close.
the same thing with DeForest Buckner. So and then Zion, versus Tariq is great, but you have no idea if Zion was in that Seattle system, if he wouldn't be balling out because there's a lot of responsibility that goes, but there's also a lot of freedom.
KB,
He's getting
before
targeted, Tariq Woolen.
before you came on the show, my argument, I would say over the past 8 years, has been the defensive line, getting the right pieces, getting key pieces for the defensive line. And if you have a stud defensive line player, it doesn't matter what defense you've got them in, they're going to ball out. I mean, is that a fair assessment? If you have somebody who's uh physically talented that you can put them in a 3-4 or 4-3, it doesn't matter where you have them, they're going to go out, they're going to hunt the quarterback, or they're going to be able to sure tackling, or just solid defensive line play from that player. Is that a fair assessment?
This is where every single one of those players succeeds or not. I mean, we
Exactly.
saw. I know you were commenting on the Josh Freeman video that went around from the Seahawks game from like 13 years ago. Josh Freeman's not in this league not because he wasn't talented, not
Mm.
because he didn't have a good
He
arm.
didn't try to sharpen his skills.
He did. Obviously there was some, drugs and
Mhm.
I'm by prescription drugs for
Right, right.
Josh Freeman, but also alcohol. Like there's a lot that goes in. I mean, Austin Safarian Jenkins. This team has drafted OJ Howard. This team
Yeah.
has drafted talented players that
And
haven't
they
done
pass the
anything.
eye test, but they don't check up from the neck up.
Exactly, and that's where again, you don't know really about Gene from a combine standpoint, which is usually the first time when these teams get to meet these players in like an interview setting. I mean, they're coached up like no one's business. I
Yeah.
mean, we've heard the stories with quarterbacks putting $100 bills and, playbooks just to see if they even read it.
Yeah.
Like, or these,
I'm
they
gonna
go to
say this
IMG
about
Academy and know every answer to every question.
yeah, and I will say this about Josh Freeman. Josh Freeman, he could have been from a physical standpoint, he could have been an amazing player if that was the direction if he honed his craft. Uh, I would say going back to college, Kansas State, Ron Prince was his head coach. Ron Prince was the worst. He is possibly the worst head coach I've ever seen. I can't think of another head coach that I've seen that's worse than Ron Prince, but he was able.
Dirk Cutter.
Josh Freeman.
I'm
Josh
teasing. I'm
Freeman.
teasing.
Josh Freeman was good in college despite his head coach. That's how good this kid was. And I really believe that, if he had sat down and, buckled down and honed his craft and practiced and did what he needed to do to get to that next level, he would still be in this league. But I just believe he got by on talent alone. There are players out there that do that. They just get by on talent alone.
Like Michael Plus, right?
What's up, guys?
No, that's a GM right there. What's going on, Michael Pless? Shout out to Michael Pless, real co-host of Real Bucs Talk. Glad to have you on, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, Sugar Freeman, he just he got a hold of alcohol and that ruined his career. But
and Taco Bell, apparently he would have sleep apnea or whatever, and wake up in the middle of the night like 3 a.m. and go to Taco Bell.
Yeah, I believe it, and I believe this, that if you had the right coaching staff around him, I think if you had the right veterans around him, I think you're looking at a different situation. Honestly, when you got morons from the top to the bottom, when you talk about Mark Dominic didn't know what he's doing. You look at Mark Dominic all the way on down. I mean, he was doomed to fail, but he played good. That 2010 season, he played good despite all that. And to me, that just, you saw what he could possibly be, but he never actually made it to that.
Yeah, he had one good year and then just didn't take it serious enough.
Yeah.
And things just turned downhill quickly. And but also, like you said, coaching staff and certain things, and Greg Schiano came in and he wanted
it's interesting because Warren Sapp, I'll never forget this, 2011, Warren Sapp took a shot at me because I said the only thing Josh Freeman is missing is a quarterback coach to groom him. And he said, "You're a damn lie," is what he told me. I'll never forget that. But when I look at this kid, man, he's never had solid coaching around him. Like I said, everything that Josh Freeman has did in his career was physical attributes. It wasn't like this guy studied and worked hard to get where he was. It just was just kind of who he was.
Yeah, 2011 happened, and then 2012 they brought in Schiano for a reason, and there's a reason why they drafted Mike Glennon, is because they saw the things that were happening around Freeman himself, and it didn't work out, and that was it. But
hey, is Glennon still in the league?
Yeah, he actually just got signed by Miami, so he's probably going to play for them this weekend.
So Nate Peterman and Mike Glennon are in the NFL in 2023.
Yep. Glennon's probably going to start this week. Which
my neighbor got a practice squad, a little deal over there in Miami.
Yep.
So
we'll find a way. Him and Josh Johnson always finding ways.
Josh Johnson too. Is this 2012 or something, or 20? What is it, 2013 or what? 2012 with 2012.
Seriously, when was Josh Johnson on our roster? I can't even guess.
On the Bucs, he was on the team.
It seems like it was 20 years ago, but it's obvious
he was on the team when Gruden was here.
Gruden was a head coach.
2008. Yeah, 2008. I think he was on the team the last year Gruden was here. So
you're correct. 2008 to 2011.
Shout out to Jeremy Lowe. Thank you for that, man. That's what you got to do. You just got to kind of stick around. And Nate Peterman, I still can't. How the hell is Nate Peterman on a team?
Oh, Nate Peterman and Mike Glennon are getting more snaps than Kyle Trask this Sunday. Because plus we're talking about this earlier with this with the whole situation around DeMar Hamlin. I mean, I'm willing to bet either there's not games this weekend or there might be an extra bye like week thrown in there. So they might as well play starters at this point.
I mean,
not hurt guys, obviously.
Right. I mean, have they decided at all what they're doing with that?
No, the Bills. The Bills don't even have a game time for Sunday yet. They said the Bengals will play at 1, but they haven't announced anything for the Bills.
Yeah, because I think that's kind of taboo to even talk about it until we get a full reading on what his health situation is before they, kind of move on with that.
Well, he's on 50% oxygen. If people haven't seen everything, like they have him in a better state. I mean, they obviously have it narrowed down and fixed everything, but he's at least turned way more for the better than the past 36 hours.
Right.
And I have to address this. Mr. Everything Bucks, thank you so much for dropping this. I am not a Chris Sims fan. I never was. I thought he was a bum in Texas. And him and Dan Orlovsky are so full of themselves. Dan Orlovsky and Chris Sims are so full of themselves. It's just disgusting to listen. You would think that Dan Orlovsky and Chris Sims were Pro Bowlers or something like that, or played at a high level. And it's just crazy to listen to these clowns. Just
someone with the famous father being full of themselves. I never would have guessed.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Well, the one thing I'll give Chris Sims is, I know again, Gene, your feelings on Rick Stroud, but Rick Stroud retelling what happened with Sims. I mean, we're talking about, serious injury type thing here, where he lost his spleen and, he actually could have lost his life.
Yeah.
If we're being honest here.
A freaking game.
And he still kept playing, and they didn't know until after the fact that he was in pretty serious critical condition in the hospital.
That was against the Carolina Panthers, by the way. FYI, if you didn't know which game that was.
Had a beautiful 50-yard touchdown pass to Joey Galloway in that one. So
yeah,
Joey
absolutely.
Galloway.
The only reason I remember is because I was at that game. So
yeah. So I kind of want to get back to this Bucs Panthers game, because this game is pretty monumental in because normally Bucs fans are used to pulling out the old draft boards and getting ready for your mock drafts, and me and KB, we're up to 2040 with our mock drafts, so you guys are way behind us right now, but
we're already within the womb still.
Exactly.
We already got those mock drafts ready to go.
All joking aside, though, man, this is so awesome that we're not talking about the draft. We're talking about playoffs. And plus, are you going to that game? You going to go to the playoff game?
I will be there. Yep. Very excited.
You are the MVP, my friend.
Wait, you're going to Atlanta?
No. I'm
going to the playoff game.
Playoff game.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Not going to Atlanta. So.
Well,
I know if you had one of those loose cans packages. Okay, never mind.
So I'm super excited about this, man.
No comment.
The Super Bowl will be in Phoenix this year. So, you're out here, we'll hang out, cook a steak or whatever. But I'll be in Tampa. I'll actually be in Tampa the 20th through the 29th. So I'll get to hang out with everybody and get to see everybody. This is an actual vacation. Well, except for Gasparilla, but this will be like an actual vacation where I'm just going to relax and hang out with my guy here. And G Vegas, don't steal my thunder, my friend, because I
Gene partying it up with a bunch of high school kids.
No, not
What's
quite.
the movie called? Project X, but starring Gene.
Exactly.
I can see Gene pulling that off.
Yeah, you know what? We will be hanging out.
Hey, Miles Teller was in that movie.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the older guy. Played college dude.
So, you know what? Since it's been brought up, G Vegas brought this up. Jake Camarda, we talked about him earlier. The punt prince, punt god.
No. We never say those two words together ever again. Okay. We'll call him puncules, but we're never going to call anyone PG ever again after that tool who thinks he's going to get a job in the NFL again.
What about punt what you heard? How about that?
I love that. Hey, I think that's ingenious. I still don't understand why you don't do a puck what you heard.
You know what?
You're a lightning guy.
Well, because the guy shooter in the stash. Shout out to Shooter in the Stash. Anybody that's associated with them, he has threatened me regarding puck what you heard. So I've kind of had to bury that for now, because We the Thunder is the mainstay, as you want to call that. So no puck what you heard, as it should be, but we can have punt what you heard, because that play, as was mentioned by Camardo, it saved the season, in my opinion. Just the way the momentum was going, it saved the season. And there was a kick, there was an extra point. No, there was a kick that was blocked. So
which was on Suck Up, everyone.
That was on Suck Up. My guy, and I can admit when wrongdoing's been wrong. My guy Ryan Suckup, who's been solid all year long, he had to get help from punt what you heard over there, and he did.
Yeah.
Bucs left a lot of points out there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. The first drive obviously had the Godwin fumble, so that, you lose points there, and then obviously the block kick, so potentially 10 points loss. So could have had our first 40-point game of the season, but
40.
Shout out to first goal.
Byron can't count that high.
That's true.
Chris Godwin needs 32 yards for 1,000 yards. We'd have 2,000-yard rushers. Shout out to Mike.
Receivers.
Yeah, he'll get that.
What did I say?
Yeah, they're definitely going to play Godwin. I think he's going to get a couple Godwin screens that'll do it.
Yep. One screen for 32 yards. That's all
it's going to happen. And it looks like Tom Brady's getting a little bit more comfortable, or is it Chris Godwin's becoming more healthy from that catastrophic injury?
It's a lot of things. I mean, obviously, Godwin's getting healthy. I think just guys are getting more comfortable. I think that the biggest thing is the offensive line is starting to gel and come together, obviously helping, with their pass protection. But it's also, Tom Brady trusting, what's in front of him, trusting he's got time, trusting he can, read the field like he knows how he's supposed to. And also, going through progressions. We haven't really seen that. It's been 1 to 2 reads where he gets rid of the football very quickly, and he still does that at times. But I think you saw it on Sunday where he went to his left and then he came all the way back to his right, and obviously hit a big play to Mike Evans.
We were talking about that earlier. He made a safety bite on a cover 4. Completely blew his assignment, that safety. That's why Mike Evans got the inside release and got the inside ball, and why there was so much space with no safety help. But I think it also comes down to, I think Brady in a more playoff environment, I think was more willing and apt to, stay in his progression a little bit longer. I mean, it's not week 6 anymore. Right. This was win or go home, essentially, because you have to leave it up to the Saints to pull off another upset for you. In order to get the Bucs back in to the playoffs. So, but also I think it's also good to point out that Byron still ignores the no huddle offense until absolutely necessary, when 80% of their success occurs.
Yeah. And you look at the 3 touchdown drives. I mean, all of them they incorporated some type of no huddle. So you look at it, take Byron out of the situation, and obviously points happen. So, you look at,
can Marshall just hire him as his as their head coach already, just to rid us?
So, is it the Bucs winning despite the offensive play calling, or is it the Bucs winning with the play calling?
His play calling was great the first drive. That's all I'm going to say.
It was.
And then it's like every week, it's just like poof. And then, they go no huddle, and that solves 90% of their problem.
And what struck me as interesting here is that, every single play, like you had mentioned, he was taken out of the equation.
I'm sorry, but just made me laugh. And the whole receiver thing when you made the Godwin slip.
Yeah, they would be rushers. Yeah. 6'5".
Honestly, Godwin was in the backfield. I thought they were going to give Godwin a carry.
Right. Yeah.
On
I
first down.
swear to God, I thought Godwin was going to get a carry.
Mike Evans, 6'5" rusher, just trying.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
what the fuck happened to the fade route? I'd rather see that than that first 2-point conversion play. I don't know what the fuck that was.
I mean, the second one was much better. Obviously, you had purpose. You had a design route where you're obviously creating space for Godwin to come back on that little, just in route, and perfect play there. Good timing.
And when did Otten throwing to the pylon become a trusted 3rd and goal play, or better yet, 3rd and 2 from the 5? Also, I hate 1st and 10. You're going to run a draw or a duo and gain 1 yard and have 2nd and goal at the 9. Mm-hmm. What did that accomplish?
Nothing. you just waste it down, and that's the biggest issue with Byron and his sequencing and play calling. It's he wastes too many opportunities to be aggressive and to get first downs on first down. He plays way too much for 3rd down, and you look at the good offenses, they don't do that. And that's something that needs to be cleaned up. And now in this last game, he did a much better job of being a little bit more consistent with it. But there's still times where you see, obviously the drive that comes to my mind is you ran the ball to Lenny on first down, you gain 4 yards. 2nd and 6, you give it to Lenny again, no gain. Guess what? You're back in a 3rd and 6 again. You get a sack because you're in 3rd and long. And
and they're all ready for everything else you're getting ready to throw at them.
Right. That's the stuff that just can't happen. And then, like Ken was talking about in the goal line situation, first down, hand it off to Lenny, 2 yards. Okay, great. 2nd and goal from the 8. 2nd and goal goes nowhere because you don't really have a design purpose or design space creator or any of that nature. It's just read and hope somebody gets open. And then 3rd down is a waste. You have to throw it away because you're in 3rd and long situation. And then the Otten, the 3rd and 1, I think, or 3rd and 2, whatever it was. I love the play action. The problem is you got to go to your best player, and that's Mike Evans. Especially if he's one-on-one, then you throw either inside slant or you throw a fade and hope for the best.
And my hot take this week for this game going up against the evil Falcons is that Cade Naughton is going to have a breakout game this year. I mean, this weekend. And the reason I say that, I know he had some miscues in this last game that really could have helped the team, but I really believe that he's going to bounce back from that. I think they're going to go back to him again. The kind of like what we saw with Mike Evans. I was shocked that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense looked the way it did, where they went back to something that worked. How many times this year have we seen Tampa go to something, it works, and then they go back to whatever the hell they want to do?
Yeah, it's and there was, I think it was the local radio that was talking about it, saying like this team doesn't really have an identity, and really they don't. You don't really know what to expect from them week to week, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And maybe sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. But
it kind of reminds you of Lovie Smith when he was here. There was just not really
I don't know. I don't want to compare it to Lovey because the team around Lovey wasn't very good. This is a much better roster now, what you have currently. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of just inconsistency, and that's the biggest thing. But I thought last week we had the best game by Tom Brady. We had the best game by the offensive line, especially in pass protection, and then obviously going to Mike Evans, you can't go wrong with that. You have to find ways to go after that matchup and get him the football. And I was at that game, I was telling my guy next to me, I was like, you got to keep feeding Mike Evans because they don't know how to stop him. And even like the little 5-yard hitch route, that's a much better play than your run on first down. Like, continue to do that. If they're going to give you space to Mike Evans, you got to take it.
Yeah, absolutely. KB, you're back.
Yeah, and then just to address G Vegas's comment there, I want to believe that. And that's what I was kind of hoping the beginning of the season was, where it's like, hey, we're going to try out some different stuff. It worked well in the preseason or in practice. Tom and I were working on it on the off season, but then it happens week after week after week after week. after week, and you just realize that's just how he sees the game. So I wish he was playing some 4D chess, but yeah, no. I'm just really happy to see. I think the defense has proven all year that when they need to clamp down, they can clamp down. The offense just has proven it was nice to see the team, put up 20 points in the fourth quarter, but they also put up 10, in the second, so being able to get some points up early, to at least supplement, hey, you're not just playing for 13 points anymore.
Yeah.
But it's just annoying though to see so much potential and what could be just kind of being squandered all year. And I still think there's still some of that. But if Mike Evans I don't know what happened between Brady and Evans, but I know on the second touchdown, Brady manipulated that safety. He knew exactly what the hell was going to happen. So I don't know if that's Byron calling that or what's going on there, but they obviously figured out, how to get Mike Evans involved, kind of what they did in the Bengals game too, by doing some short plays, as well to him.
I think they had a little bit more time to throw the ball this week.
Yeah, that definitely helps. I mean, there was
Tom's had more time. I'm not going to call myself an apologist. Tom's had time this year.
Yeah.
Well, if you go back to the Cardinals game, I'm looking at this game, and Tom is like, I don't know if he's shell shot or PTSD or what, but he's worried about getting hit. He's getting the ball out fast. There were a couple of plays that JJ Watt was like on him, and he was throwing the ball short, but that you don't really see that. I don't know if it's just the way the cameras are or what, but just watching that Cardinals game, they were in his face a lot. And I think that he was coming up short, and he was short arming stuff, not making excuses for him, but it is what it is. I mean, he's making the best of what he could. And I just felt like this week he had a little bit more time, and he was able to make some of these plays that he needed to.
Watch the Ravens game sometime if anyone wants to see. I know there's a lot of bad Tom Brady people out there. You want to see bad Tom Brady, watch the Ravens where he has perfect pockets. That was the week they changed from Gadecki to Leverett. And he was having no part of it. He didn't believe in jack shit. And then you watch what happened Sunday. Obviously, there's a lot that has been improved during that time. But I think a lot of that comes down to Brady trusting and not wanting to take that hit halfway through the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we talked about that in our Twitter group chat with Josh Quapo from Pure Report, and
Josh.
Yeah, he talked about platform, and platform is a lot of the, I guess, issues or inconsistencies with Tom, because Tom needs that platform to throw the accurate football, to throw with arm strength, to do all those things. So, and when Tom doesn't trust what's in front of him, and especially in weeks 1 through whatever it was, 1 through 7, where your left guard or any part of the offensive line was just getting beat in 1 second or less, and you start to get hit, and obviously you're quickening up your release, your throw, your timing, everything is fastened. And then when you start to actually have a pocket, it takes time to get that trust and rework your mindset and understand that, hey, I have time. I can wait a little bit longer and let plays develop, go through my reads, and really create more big plays. And that's something that has been missing all year. That's something that just hasn't happened for this team as far as hitting those big plays down the field. And it's a big part of the offense. And when you don't have that, obviously it takes more execution. It takes more plays to get down the field. And I think the Bucs had the most plays this year on offense out of the whole NFL, which again is good and bad. It's probably not good because you want to be efficient. And if you take more plays to get down the field, also with that leads to more potential mistakes. And obviously we've seen that for this offense where they'll drive and look good, get down there, and then they mess up, So yeah, it plays a huge part of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. KB.
I'm just happy we're able to talk playoffs at this point, because I was scared there.
Yeah, I was too. I was frustrated. So, with the playoffs, clean slate, you start all over, and you just kind of move forward. First time you lose, you're out. I really like what Tampa just needs a chance. I watched Dallas play, and I watch the quality of talent that Dallas plays against. And you know,
sorry, I'm laughing at the CDL comment.
Exactly.
Sorry.
I just you know, I everybody's counting Dallas out. I mean, not Dallas, but counting Tampa out. You know, I've heard everybody has like so many people have hit me up on my text messages. Oh yeah, Dallas is going to blow out Tampa by 30, or they're going to win by 28. You know, just like whoever was talking about slapping Tampa around last week or whatever they were saying, and Tampa's going to get smacked around, and then they're going to win the, you know, they're going to go to the playoffs or whatever. But you know, it just again, this you're discounting this defense, you're discounting what Tom Brady can do in the playoffs, and that's the one thing that I'm really looking forward to. I really liked their chances last year, the Bucs' chances. I think Tristan Wirfs is healthy. I think that changes a little bit, but you still needed a wide receiver out there. So I like this team is getting healthy at the right time, and I think that they'll be just fine going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm full in agreement, and I think one thing that's going to be very interesting is someone who I probably need to go on an apology tour for a little bit. Sean Murphy Bunting obviously had the pick, but he's had some really good coverage the past several weeks, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see if they move Antoine away from the slot. Can you imagine if we're playing too deep with Logan Ryan and Antoine Winfield? Good luck. Passing deep on that. And then if you play a team like Dallas, I mean, you just got to worry about Micah Parsons. Jalen Hurts is probably not going to be himself if he comes back. He might even be playing, you know, this Sunday or whenever the games are going to be played. He's obviously not healthy, and we just watched the Eagles at home not be able to move the ball against the
Saints.
The Saints.
Yeah.
And then, you know, what if the Packers come in there? And I'm right now, I'm full into the Packers getting into the playoffs. I think they can beat the 49ers, and the 49ers are the only team I'm worried about.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, the NFC is wide open, and you know, the Bucs, you know, for them, it's all about health, and hopefully they can, you know, get guys healthy and get ready to go. But you know, back to Ken's point about SMB, I think why he's playing so well, he's playing at his best spot, and that's on the outside. I've always said
who goes inside though? That's the only scary thing.
It is, because I think Winfield deserves to be at free safety because that's where he plays his best. I think he's an okay slot corner. And I would like to have, you got to play him to their strengths. And, you know, and I would trust Winfield and Logan Ryan, like you said, as the two safeties. Mike Edwards is the guy that I think I don't fully trust, because I think he's aggressive. He's just so aggressive. And obviously he's trying to make plays back there. He's a playmaker. But he tends to be out of position when you don't need him to be. So that's the thing where maybe they look at trying him again as the nickel. But again, you lose some athleticism, and then, you know, Sean Murphy.
I think you have to throw SMB back in the slot, because even
they probably will.
Bad SMB is the best opportunity for an interception as well. Obviously, people will call out 2020. He had the 3 interceptions in the 3 games prior to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, if they put him inside, again, it all depends on how they utilize him. If they're going to allow him to do what he does best, and that's press man coverage and play aggressive with his hands and allow him to jam these guys at the line, then yeah, I would say he's got a good chance. But him as an outside corner, I always thought that was his best job or best role, in my opinion. I think he's always shown he can be capable on that side of the field, especially as a boundary corner. But it's tough because you have Jamel Dean and Carlton, and obviously those guys got to play on the outside. If they had more flexibility, then maybe you have some more options, because Carlton, you know, doesn't really go inside. I mean, sometimes he does, but you know, we haven't seen much success with it. But defensively, I think they'll be fine overall. Whoever's back there, or however they want to play it, defense is not the issue here. It's offense. Can we score points? Can we be consistent and find ways to put close to 30 points again when it comes time in the postseason?
There we go. All right, guys. Well, you know, that's there was so much to talk about this week, especially, you know, with that freak injury, with, you know, what the climate in the NFL and how things are going. And with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. One final question for both of you. Do you start do you start everybody? Are there players that you sit down to let them rest in this game versus the Atlanta Falcons?
Antoine Winfield Jr., CD3, Jamel Dean, Vita Vea, Donovan Smith, and possibly Tristan Wirfs. I wouldn't play just because Jamel Dean's already said he toughed that out on the toe, and I believe him. I think Vita obviously had something going on, and Vita, while he uses his strength, something's not right with him in his lower half. I think it's his calf or whatever. And then CD3 obviously didn't even play because of a shoulder injury. Just let him heal that. And then I think Donovan Smith's probably the only one who's not going to play from an offensive standpoint. But Tristan, if something fucking happens to Tristan, this is a damn it doll, everyone. I will legit break this thing. So it's called a damn it doll, Gene, because you can just slam it.
I'll probably get physically sick behind that. So I really want to see him healthy going into the playoffs. He was sorely missed against the Rams last year.
And he's been limping the past 2 weeks, though, Gene. Yeah. His ankle. I mean, he's playing on a high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, he's one of those players. I'd love to see him sit down and just see what they do, without him.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and Todd Bowles said it. I mean, if they're healthy enough to play, I think they're probably in there. It's just because you only have so many guys. You only have so many guys that you can play. You don't have a lot of tackles right now. I mean, yeah, Brandon Walton, and that's pretty much it as far as your backup. And yeah, you could bring up practice squad guy and put him at a position where he's not comfortable and put him at right tackle. But
then you risk hurting your quarterback. So
it would have been cool if they brought in Jason Peters, but no comment.
But again, there's I think they'll probably treat this game as a preseason type game. They'll do what they can to get other guys in there to save their starters, but the starters will be out there. I just don't know how long. It really depends on how this game flows and how it goes early on. And, you're hoping the Bucs can come out and be aggressive and put points up and get a nice lead. And then, let your backups take over. And if you lose, you lose. But, at least you're confidence.
Will there be a Kyle Trask sighting?
Possibly, maybe in the fourth quarter at some point. But again, they kind of hinted if Blaine Gabbert goes in or if Blaine comes out, then Trask is going in. But who knows? I mean, I'm not going to hold my breath for it. If it happens, it happens. But
he's going to dress though, because again, I think there's going to be between 5 and 7 players that don't dress for injury reasons. And that gives him the open door because they're probably going to elevate some people too, but you need an active 45. I think he'll make the active list. I think it'll come down to what or how long they're actually going to leave Brady out there for. I don't think they're going to give Blaine Gabbert extensive. I could see the most playing Brady playing a half, Blaine playing a half. Mm-hmm. But if Brady only gets a quarter, Blaine maybe gets a half, second and third quarter, then maybe Trask. But my only fear is they're going to throw Trask. He's just going to hand the ball because we either have a lead or maybe the Falcons, got up early, whatever the case may be. But, oh no, did I freeze?
Yeah, you're fine. We can hear you.
You're good. Go ahead. Go ahead with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I will say this. I do want to shout out Blaine Gabbert, the hero. Him and his jet ski.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty awesome, right?
As much as I do throw a lot of shade at Blaine Gabbert, what he was able to do, he didn't have to do anything, but helping those people after the helicopter crash and getting out on his jet skis and everybody they saved lives. That's awesome when you can when you have something like that. So I'm shout out to Blaine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't die. I promise.
Oh no, you're a good kid.
I am Kenny though, so I didn't die. I promise.
You bastard.
South Park fans out there.
Yeah.
I do want to answer the question in the chat. They're talking about the center situation. If Jensen is your starting center, then Hainsey would be the backup center, because you can't lose Hainsey because he is that type of guy. So Leverett would remain your starting left guard.
Also, why would you want to take a young guy and make him do something he technically hasn't done in the NFL yet, which is
Exactly.
play left guard, and then try to have him shuffle back if, let's say, Jensen gets injured mid-game?
Yeah,
It just makes more sense. And also, Hainsey's healthy again, so even if Leverett were to, let's say, go down, I mean, Hainsey would be, or Gadecki would be the first person to go in.
Right.
So
and
there would
I'm
already
sorry,
be something established.
They're not moving worse next year, so please let that go.
Yeah, Donovan Smith will be back. So,
in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they locked him up for another year or two for cap reasons.
Oh yeah, yep.
And to all the people that have a problem with this, you have to tell me who you would replace him with. You can say he's trash or whatever you want to say, but it has to be followed up with who realistically you would replace him with. And with your comments.
Anthony Munoz.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I will say for Ken's sake, they will draft a offensive tackle this year.
I don't believe you. I'm coming off screen just because they just showed me that from a front office standpoint and also the coaching standpoint, I don't think they want to develop young linemen in those first 2 rounds just because you're probably waiting a year or two just for them to even, like, I mean, we saw what happened with Gadecki. Ali Marpet's an outlier.
Right.
Donovan Smith has honestly the same problems he had now than what he did 7 years ago. And also, why even take the risk of, with the way college offenses are in trying to just plug and play someone when they've been probably running this scheme in college that's like, shout out like Mike Leach, like, a very, run and shoot, like no huddle, like a lot of tackles even in college are under 300 pounds these days.
Right. Yeah, it takes time for these tackles. I mean, unless you're one of the top tackles that is just ready to go, day one, where you know all the sets, all the.
How rare is that though?
I mean, you don't find Tristan Wirfs on trees. It's hard to find.
And remember, he was the 4th one taken. Again, I think they're also about value. That's why I just wish again, I'm biased because I coached him in high school, but Nicholas Petit-Frere, to those of you who don't know, after the injury that occurred to who's the Titans left tackle, the white guy,
Taylor Lewan.
Nicholas Petit-Frere, who let's just say what it is. He got embarrassed against Aiden Hutchinson and the Michigan defensive line. In the Ohio State game versus Michigan last year. And that he was a top 15 pick, fell to the 3rd round. And now the Titans have a starting tackle that they got in the 3rd round.
Right.
Who would you rather have right now, Luke Gadecki or Nicholas Petit-Frere, who could have played guard? Like that's just kind of where my head is I just think a day 2 tackle is insurance that the team needs, because I trust them finding a guard anywhere at this point.
Right. Yeah, I feel they're going to take
hard, man.
Yeah, I think
I hope so, but I also know that they're going to take either a corner or a safety, depending on who they bring back. Because I think Dean's going to come back, but I don't think SMB is going to come back. I don't think Mike Edwards is going to come back.
Somebody.
Logan Ryan's not going to come back. So I think they're going to go DB early. They also need a D tackle with no Akeem Hicks. Will Golston's probably gone. So those to me are probably the first 2 picks.
So I mean, would you potentially look at a O-lineman somewhere along the lines? I mean, in the first couple of rounds. I mean, but again, I haven't really studied I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Playoffs to talk about.
Yeah,
but
Cowboys or Eagles.
Yep. So I'll just cut that short. Just give myself the anxiety there.
It's a great win. Great win.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Atlanta Falcons. Going to be a great game. It's a away game, so get to watch it wherever you're watching it at. Definitely be on Twitter following you guys. Plus, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and what you're working on next.
Yeah, follow Real Bucs Talk on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. You can check us out there. And yeah, as far as next projects, don't really have anything right now, but we got some things that we're starting to plan and try to revamp and get us back going again. But we'll have some videos probably out later this week though, for sure.
That's great, man. I'm glad to hear it. Shout out to KB. He's having technical difficulties.
Yeah, gotta bump up that Wi-Fi.
Yeah, definitely. We'll figure something out. Maybe get him a can and a string, and see what we can do to get him back online here.
Just need an Ethernet cable. That's what you need.
I know. Here's the thing: like my computer works perfectly fine all day. I hop in StreamYard, and something goes on. Next week, I'm gonna try on my phone and see what happens.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, KB, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
They can find me playing with my Damn It doll at Bucs_Barrett on Twitter. I'm going to nickname him Byron. So that way, whenever anything goes wrong, great Christmas gift if anyone's ever on Etsy. My fiance got this for me for like $10. Very fun doll. But yeah, the whole purpose of it is to just hit things when you don't like what your team's doing. So I'm calling him Byron.
There you go. All right. Yeah, you can reach me at Buck What You Heard. You follow me, I will follow you back. Unless you're a bot, which I've been getting bombarded with. I have to continuously.
Okay, Elon.
It's his fault. It's Muskie. I'm blaming Muskie for this one here. And I've asked him about it. But
have you heard that there's not someone who's lost 200 million or whatever it is, like as fast as he has?
$247 billion. Yeah.
As fast as he has.
Yeah. It is. Those are rich people problems, and I wouldn't.
That's monopoly money, baby.
Exactly. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for checking us out. Large crowd. I'm glad everybody got to come in here. Shout out to everybody in the chat. G Vegas, Bud Cannibalist, of course, Truth 247, Jeremy Lowe. Thank you. And I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but Chris Godwin needs 32 yards.
Yep.
To go over 1,000,
something like that. He'll get it.
He'll get it. I believe he will. Yeah.
And also, we already know Brady has a knack for getting people their incentives, money,
exactly.
Or milestones, whatever.
And if the quitter had just been patient, he would have got his bonus too, either that game or the next game. So,
hey, fuck him. We won the game, and I mean, I think it would have been helpful in the Rams game, but I don't think his absence was as bad as other people who weren't in the game.
Ankle that he needed surgery on, so there is that. So yeah, it is what it is.
Delusional.
T. Smitty, welcome back to the living. Glad you're here. Everything but.
Sorry about Alabama not being there, T. Smitty.
T. Smitty, it wasn't me. I didn't throw any shade at Alabama or anything. They deserve to be in the.
It's the committee.
Yeah,
but he wants Bill O'Brien out of there, and hopefully, Bowles doesn't bring him here.
Forrest Gump in the Alabama Hall of Fame.
There you go.
Still a better offensive coordinator than Byron. Sorry.
There you go.
I digress.
All right, guys, we are out of here, and everybody, you have a great week, and go Bucs.